Okay, welcome ladies and gentlemen. This month our chef to watch is Mr. Daniel, aka Dan Lee, winner of MasterChef The Professionals 2021, and this chef right here. Hello Dan, how are you?
Hi, I'm all good, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad, thank you. I know that people are aware that you are of a family of restaurateurs, so you grew up in restaurants, but what are your earliest food memories at home? Like, what did your mum and dad cook for you at home?
Okay, mum and dad aren't the best cooks, so it was just standard stuff like lasagnas, the occasional like spaghetti bolognese, mac and cheese. Corned beef mash was a big thing I used to eat all the time. Literally, I'm talking about smashed from the packet mixed with water.
Some spat on it.
Nah, it was with corned beef. We used corned beef still, that was it. Sweet corn through it and like some bisto gravy on top. Like, you're talking about really basic food, like nothing complicated. Pizza fingers, the little frozen pizzas, you get that were long and they're like that big. Love them. Little sausages, like just with loads of ketchup. Like nothing exciting, nothing exotic. Like just really basic food, and that's what I grew up around. And obviously, said like my auntie and that they had the takeaway and everything, so Sundays would be based around all the Chinese, Cantonese food. But day to day in the week, it was nothing. Like, it was just the standard basic. Didn't taste great. Didn't eat lasagna for like until about 10 years ago because I hated the way my mum did it when I was younger. So I was convinced I didn't like lasagna, stuff like that. Then I'm not excited, just a really basic standard foods.
And then where does the Chinese side of your family come from? So is it your dad's or is it your grandparents?
Oh, it's my dad. So like, my dad's, well, technically he was born in Wolverhampton, but he moved back to Hong Kong when he was about 2 years old. Then he moved back to the UK when he was about 10 years old. So it's all that side. So like my whole dad's side of the family, then he's got like 2 sisters, 2 brothers, so they're like my aunties and uncles, and like that, it's completely all based around from Cantonese, or Hakka. So like it's a certain, like, what do you call it? Hakka is like, I don't want to say tribe, but that's where we're from. We're the Hakka people. That's what we are, based around in Hong Kong, because obviously you got China, but then it's all split up into different sections. Each has its own dialect, and that's the one that all my family are from.
What was it like growing up in an English, Irish, Chinese household?
Well, the Irish part, that was always my nan. Like, she got the accent and everything. She'll talk to us about, like, she grew up in Sligo. We talked about that, but the Irish influence never came in much more than that. It's just obviously it was part of our history. We were brought up in very much British English environment. You know, like, only spoke English at home. Like, I didn't do Chinese school. I didn't do anything like that. And apart from them Sundays where it suddenly all changed again. Like, we'd sometimes have to go to the temple. Like the Buddhist temple, sometimes obviously we get all the food, but we grew up very much in a British environment, which is an interesting way to grow up, because obviously I had this whole other side of me, a whole other part of me which I couldn't really tap into, or no one could have really tapped into for me. So I knew it was there, and I was always at school, like I was the Chinese one, like, because there was not many Chinese people. Very diverse school I went to, but it was me, I was the Chinese one, so I grew up known as the Chinese person, but I grew up in the UK around like a whole UK culture. So it was an interesting experience coming up, but I wouldn't say it was really mixed for me at the time. I had a lot of thoughts about, obviously, because I know I'm half Chinese, I wanted to learn more about it, but when I was younger, you're locked away. If you're the only one, you're a kid, you're focused on like just fitting in, and that's it, and so it didn't really play a part of it. And it was when I got older, I started to make some Chinese new friends. I wanted to learn about my history, culture, especially when I started to get into food. Then I really embraced it a lot more and moved forward. But growing up, I'd say it was just a UK British upbringing.
So what was the transition then from wanting to become an archaeologist to then wanting to become a chef? And was that what led you to go travelling, or did the travel come first and then the want to be a chef come after?
So definitely travel came first, the want to be a chef came after. So I wanted to be an archaeologist when I was younger. That was always a dream, and it was me watching like programmes, looking at like different parts of the world. Like, I love travelling programmes, finding out about different things. That's all I ever watched. And at one point I wanted to be an architect. I was like, okay, I'll go down that route. And then when it came to school, like mid-teenage years, I just went off the rails a bit. Like, I just started misbehaving, in trouble with the police, drinking, doing bits and bobs I'm not going to talk about, but I went off the rails a bit. So from there, I was at sixth form, started at sixth form, lasted like 3 months there, just it wasn't for me. I wasn't switched on, weren't enjoying it. Then I went down, I was working at a supermarket for a bit, like I was at I was at Next, like working retail, stacking shelves, didn't know what I was doing. Then eventually I spoke to a careers advisor, because I had to, because basically my behaviour was a bit all over the place, so you was like, you need to go speak to a careers advisor, you need to do this. So like, what do you like to do? And I was like, a bit moody teenager, like, oh, I don't really know, I do whatever. Like, oh, what do you like to do? I was like, oh, I cooked at the weekend. Oh, why didn't you go to UCB? They've got an open day, you might like it. And I did, I went to the open day. I made like 3 pasta dishes, and I just loved it. I loved the interactive side of it, like, you know, it's very proactive what you're doing. And I was like, oh, I can be a chef. So I started at the College of Food, and then I enjoyed it. Like the theory side, not so much because it's still similar to a classroom, but actually the hands-on physical learning, and I enjoyed it. I found cooking quite straightforward, following a recipe. Like, you know, I started to pick it up quite quickly. Then it became quite apparent I could use it to travel, and that's where it all came from. I've always wanted to travel. Travel was always the priority. I wanted to learn about new cultures, just what else is out there in the world. And then when I started learning about food, I very quickly discovered they intertwined very much. Like, that's how it works. You learn about people's cultures, you're going to learn about their food, because everyone has a history in food and stuff. And that was it. It just started spiraling from there, and the passion grew. So it was a bit later on, like, I never wanted to do it. I always wanted to travel. But then how I tied food in with travel was just opened a whole new door for me, like, and that was it. I still don't know what I'm doing and how I'm doing it, but I'm just winging it. Like, I travel, I like food, and it's just getting me round, you know, it's paying the bills, it works at the moment. Yeah. But in terms of what I actually do for a job, like, I am a chef, but like, it's mainly about travel, it's mainly about like, digging into people's cultures, researching, there's a whole mix of it all. So yeah, I'm just enjoying whatever it is I am doing at the moment.
I'm just thinking, just hearing you speak, that what comes to mind is I guess the way that you were brought up with this sense of maybe I don't quite belong, and then going to Singapore and feeling maybe I don't quite belong, and that sort of rootlessness has played in your favour, because it's kind of like you might not belong anywhere, but it also means you can go everywhere, and everything is kind of open for you to explore. Yeah,
that's exactly the way I look at it. So Singapore, it wasn't that long ago I moved there, like a fair few years now, but it was that, okay, people just see me as white British there, people in England basically see me as completely Chinese. Like, it's a weird place to be in, and then it knocks you down at times. Like, and I'm not the only person. Like, most mixed race people in the UK will feel like certain elements of what I feel. Like, I appreciate that. So I realised quite quickly, I was like, okay, there's no actual country, if you will, to put me in. Like, yeah, I'm British through and through, I grew up here, but like, you know, people come here, they'll say, oh, you're Chinese, stuff like that. So I looked at it, first it gets you down a bit, then I looked at it as like, but I've travelled to so many countries, and everywhere I've gone, I've made friends, like, from all different nations, everything. Like, everywhere you go, you'll fit in, and that's what the world is at the moment. Like, all these different cultures, all these different places, you can fit in together. And then it became quite apparent, like, food is just a universal language, it's relative. Anywhere you go, people will always have their favourite foods, their least favourite foods, food memories, ways they eat food, their favourite times they eat food, and that's how you connect with people, and that's why I love food so much. It just brings everyone together in terms of a connection like that.